sponsored patches on LSU football uniforms? Oh, you know I've got thoughts about this. It's Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We're free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. And as always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We got a lot to delve into today, and this is kind of a money issue, for lack of a better phrase, because a story has started circulating. It's actually about a week-old story now, but there was a line in the story from Wilson Alexander of The Advocate, who does a great job. Shout out to Wilson. That has got the attention of a lot of LSU fans. So Wilson recently did a piece on LSU's revenue share. Basically, the $20.5 million that now, because of the NCAA and House settlement, that athletic departments are going to be allowed to pay to their student athletes. Remember, just as a very quick Cliff's note, so as not to confuse anyone, revenue share, NIL are different. NIL, name, image, and likeness, those are brand deals that student athletes can do. I understand that's been pay for play through collectives and stuff, but understand in the truest sense, this is what the House settlement does. You can go get NIL, like true deals at market value. Revenue share is the athletic department actually sharing $20.5 million of its revenue with its student athletes. That's what just got approved from the House settlement. Well, with revenue share comes some real challenges for athletic departments. The challenges, notably, are how do you pay for it? For instance, at a place like LSU, which in the previous fiscal year, 2023-2024, the 2023-2024 school year, LSU operated at a deficit of $818,000, meaning it's the athletic department as a whole lost money. Okay. And now, a year after you lost money, you're going to have to find $20.5 million in your budget to pay your student athletes. So how do you do that? Things like jersey patches. So listen, in that article from Wilson Alexander, it was something that Clay Harris, who's with LSU's LSU Sports Properties in the athletic department, discussed as a likelihood that they would move quickly to do that. LSU, if the NCAA allows, would move quickly to sell jersey patches. And the fans melted. And Twitter was a Twitter, and people melted because the tradition, and I can't imagine seeing a sponsored patch on LSU's jersey. Listen, I understand all that. I understand the beauty and the pageantry and the tradition, and I don't give a rip. Because the bottom line is that come August the 30th, when LSU plays Clemson, it don't matter if there was Raising Cane's, Tony Chachere's, you name it, Bud Light, whatever the logo would be on that patch, you're watching. Listen, I'm sitting here in my office, and I have photos all over, framed photos all over here. Championship photos. And I can remember one of the greatest moments as a fan in my life. January the 4th, 2004. That was the day that LSU beat Oklahoma in the Sugar Bowl to win the school's first national championship since 45 years, since 1958. I was a senior at LSU when that happened. Something I never thought in my life I would see. Would sound so foreign now, especially if you're younger. But if you could put yourself in the mindset in 2003, winning a national championship was a foreign concept. It hadn't happened in nearly half a century. That felt like forbidden fruit, like a bygone era when games were in black and white. That's when LSU could compete for a championship, not in 2003. Well, here we are, January 4th, 2004. LSU beats Oklahoma 21-14. Marcus Spears, the pick six of Jason White at the start of the second half to put LSU up 14. And the Tigers, of course, that amazing defense wasn't giving up that lead. Lit a cigar on the ramp walking out of the Superdome that day with my dad, my brother, tears in my eyes, something I never thought I'd get to see. And here I got to see it in my senior year at LSU. And you know what was on LSU's jersey in that game? A Nokia Sugar Bowl patch. Do you think that when I watch highlights of that game and I watch Marcus Spears pick six, I watch the Skylar Green end around, when I watch Justin Vincent get in the end zone for LSU's second touchdown, do you think I'm looking at that game going, man, what a great moment? But that darn Nokia patch on the jersey, of course not. Like every bowl game that LSU ever plays in, you're wearing a patch. They just played in the Texas Bowl and there's a patch on the jersey from the Texas Bowl. Like, it's something that we collectively make a big deal out of, but when the ball's teed up and the game's kicked off, the wailing and gnashing of teeth stops. This has happened with arenas. I mean, would I prefer that influential people, coaches, administrators, benefactors have had things named after them, that their names not be removed from stadiums and replaced with sponsors? Of course, I'd rather that. Do I care? No. The Louisiana Superdome was the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. It's now the Caesar Superdome. But you know what everybody calls it? The Dome. You going to the Dome? Playing the Dome? Everybody, the Dome? The Dome. Yeah. No, it's not. Are they playing Caesar Superdome? For branding purposes, I get it. Caesars gets a big logo on top of the dome. Whatever. Great. Or name the event. Kentucky's football stadium is called Kroger Field. I got news for you. Like, LSU is going to build a new basketball arena. That's going to have a branded sponsor on that whenever that happens. I mean, we've been talking about it for years, but like when that happens, there's going to be a branded sponsor on that building. It's not going to be called the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. The PMAC is going to still remain where it is. It'll be a mixed use facility, but LSU will have a new arena with a sponsor on it, as it should, because it's a revenue opportunity. The bottom line is, you want nice things, you have to pay for nice things. So how do you pay for nice things? You have to find ways to generate revenue. This is no different. The floor of the PMAC recently had a Cox Communications logo on the floor. Like, this is just part of doing business, and you don't have to like it. But here's what I think you do like. You do like winning. Okay, well, how do you win? You have the best players. How do you get the best players? You got to have the best coaches to recruit the best players. How do you attract the best coaches? Well, you got to be able to pay the best coaches high salaries. You have to have great facilities and the opportunity to recruit great players. Like, you want to win, it costs to win. It's no coincidence that when you look at the highest operating revenue athletic departments are the ones that win the most, because it costs money to pay coaches, now to pay players, to build facilities. And if putting a patch on a jersey is a way that you're going to be able to do that, then get over having the patch on the jersey. NFL practice jerseys have patches on them. Major League Baseball jerseys have patches on them. The Chicago Cubs have a Motorola patch on their sleeve. Batting helmets in Major League Baseball now have logos on the side of them. They're continuing to play the sport. It's fine. Like, there are sponsor logos on the field at NFL games. Like, yes, it matters. So what could that generate? There are estimates that it would be, and by the way, it would be across, in that article that Wilson Alexander wrote, the jersey patches wouldn't just be football. It would be something they would explore in every sport, as well they should. And I've heard, it'll look like a NASCAR. Maybe eventually, maybe they put 50, maybe by the time my life's over, they put 50 patches on a jersey. I don't know. Maybe it's like the English Premier Soccer League, where the jersey isn't a team logo. It's literally just the business. Like, that is the jersey. And by the way, people buy those jerseys for kits and wear them. People buy NASCAR shirts with their sponsored logos and wear them. It's something we all do. As that transition happens, it might be hard for people to accept, but at its most basic level, even if you think that's nauseating, grin and bear it, because if that's the cost of doing business, you would, and I gave you the option, would you rather win games and have a sponsored patch on your jersey, or stay bare bones, not generate that revenue, not sell naming rights, not sell jersey patches, not sell logos on the field, but you're going to take a step back competitively because you're not going to be able to afford to pay the best players and bring in the best coaches. Like, if those were your options, you know the answer. Put the patch on the jersey. Put 10 patches on the jersey if that's what it costs. It's not going to change the fact that when LSU scores a touchdown, they're still going to play the fight song. You're still going to run out of H-style goalposts. You're still going to have yard markers every 5 yards on the field. Like, it's still good. Well, I'd say it's still going to be the traditional uniforms, but they've certainly mucked that up a little bit now with all the alternates. But some of y'all love the alternates. Amazing. You love the alternate uniforms, but you can't stand a jersey patch? Give me a break. Bottom line is, do whatever you have to do to make sure you remain competitive in this day and age. And that means, how can you spend money? Well, you got to make money to spend money. How can you generate new revenue streams? This is a way to do it. You absolutely do it. Now, I want to dive into a little bit more why this matters for all sports. It makes sense for football, but especially as we're talking about LSU baseball here recently, I'll tell you why this matters so much. We'll get into that as we continue here. Locked on LSU, your team every day. We've all been there, logging on early, waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Well, live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Gametime comes in. Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime. And you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. If you're tired of the endless scrolling trying to find the best deal, Gametime's Zone Deals pick the best seats in the section for you. It's right there at Gametime. You also get panoramic seat views, and I love the Gametime guarantee. It's got your back with a cancellation protection and so much more. You got to check it out. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem with the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Okay, as we record this on the morning of the 4th of July, I don't mean to bore you with a math lesson, but I do think that this is relevant as we're talking about jersey patches and money and all that sort of stuff. Okay. Because we do know how rev share is going to be split up now. And I want to delve into this to kind of explain it a bit further, okay? Now, bear with me, and I understand sometimes numbers confuse people, and it doesn't always play great, especially if you're listening, not watching. I don't have a flow chart or a pie chart to show you or anything like that, but I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible, okay? In the fiscal year 2023-2024, okay, so it was last school year, but that's how the LSU athletics calendar is judged, right? Because it's a school year, right? So the fiscal year of 2023-2024. When we look at those numbers for LSU generated $220 million, 220.28 actually, and they spent $221.1 million. All that to say, you don't need to remember that. Just remember, LSU generated $200 million in revenue. And on the year, they lost $818,000. There were two sports that made money. Two, football, men's basketball. And you may say, how did men's basketball make money? They weren't very good. They missed the NCAA tournament. Batman's team wasn't good. A lot of empty seats at the PMAC. They made about $1 million. Men's basketball made about $1 million on the year, because you have your 6,000 or 7,000 diehards basketball season ticket holders that also pay their tradition fund, their seat licensing, whatever you call it, right? You have premium seating option for men's basketball, which is going to increase revenue. Then you also have part of being in the SEC, revenue sharing with NCAA tournament payouts and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, all that to say, men's basketball generated just over $1 million of net money for the athletic department. Men's basketball made a little more than $1 million. But here's the big issue that most people overlook. And it's programs like women's basketball, baseball, gymnastics, where LSU is very good, but those are a financial suck. Women's basketball last year actually spent more money than men's basketball. Women's basketball spent $11.8 million. Men's basketball spent $10.7. So the women's basketball team spent $11.8 million and lost. Remember, I told you the only two that made money were football and men's basketball. The women's basketball team lost $8.5 million. Kim Mulkey's program operating at an $8.5 million deficit. So ask yourself this question. Do you want to be good in women's basketball? LSU has been. They've won a championship. They've been to the Elite Eight. 2 years they didn't win the championship. Kim Mulkey's team is right there on the doorstep, knocking on the doorstep. Do you want Kim Mulkey? Do you want her great staff? Well, this is the cost of doing business. Do you want to be great in women's basketball? If you do, this is what, and people say, well, how can that happen? They pack the games because the tickets are dirt cheap. There's no premium seating. There's no other revenue generating opportunities. So your question is, do you continue to invest those resources to be good in women's basketball? By the way, I believe you should. It's a loss leader. You're never going to make money on it, but the net benefit of being good in women's basketball has been great to LSU. Kim Mulkey, Angel Reese, the national championship, Flaugier. It's been great. All the exposure LSU's gotten because of its women's basketball program being great, it's immeasurable. Just the championship run is immeasurable. Punky Johnson doing an SNL skit as Angel Reese. You literally couldn't go to NBC and say, can we pay you money to do a skit on Weekend Update on SNL with an LSU women's basketball jersey on? That's literally not an option, but you got that for free. So it's a loss leader, but I think it's something you should be good in. We could go round and round about baseball as well. Baseball came close to breaking even. And by the way, that was following its national championship year. They came close to breaking even, but baseball still lost money. So this is the point. You're already operating at a deficit. So you lose almost $1 million as an athletic department. You generate $220 million in revenue. You spend $221. Now your expenses are going up $20.5 million. Right? This is just math. You're going to pay your student athletes out of that revenue $20.5 million. Well, you either have to generate $20.5 million of new revenue, cut $20.5 million of expenses, or find the truth somewhere in between, which is what'll happen. They will generate new revenue and they will cut expenses. Look, we've talked about it this offseason, y'all. LSU football, the support staff, has seen a handful of support staff members not retained. Some have left for other jobs. Some were simply not retained and not replaced because everybody in the athletic department right now is looking for ways to trim fat. Where can we cut expenses, knowing revenue share was coming? And this is the other part that is super, super relevant, especially for baseball. Okay. The breakdown of rev share is going to go like this. Football is going to get 75%. So about $13.5 million. Call it round or about 50, but $13.5 million is what football is going to get. Men's basketball is going to get 15%, which is I had it. It's over $2 million. Women's basketball is going to get 5%, which means, and I'm not great at math, but 75, 15, and 5 is 95, which leaves 5% for the rest of your sports. 5% for baseball and softball and gymnastics and volleyball and track and field and golf and swimming and diving and all of it. 5% to be divvied up among every other sport, chief of which among is your baseball program. And I'll tell you candidly, the number I was told for baseball some time ago, and I don't know if this was not in that article, and I don't know if this might have altered, but that baseball was going to get about 2% of that number. And so you're talking maybe a couple $100,000. I mean, that's not going to cut it when you're trying to compete. Keep in mind also that two of the biggest targets that LSU had this year in baseball in the transfer portal. So remember, LSU wins the national championship. They win the national championship. The two biggest targets they had were Stokes, the Oregon transfer, and Mack, the pitcher from Rutgers. Stokes landed at Florida State. Mack went to Tennessee. You're just the confetti hasn't finished falling from your championship celebration, and you're missing out on your two biggest portal targets. Why? Because other schools are spending more. I've told you this. Like, there's this perception out there from some that LSU buys whatever they want and whatever roster they want in baseball. That ain't the truth. You wanted Zach Root from East Carolina last year. He went to Arkansas. You wanted Gavin Keelan from Louisville last year. He went to Tennessee. You wanted Liam Doyle and Fisher from Ole Miss. They both went to Tennessee. Like, I mean, you're out there plucking dudes, respect, but Braden Simpson from High Point, who may be a great player. Anthony Einson from UC San Diego, who ended up being a great player. Daniel Dickinson from Utah Valley, who ended up being your everyday second baseman. But the point is, like, Gavin Keelan was an All-American. You wanted him. You didn't get him. So you're going to have to find a way. You're going to have to find a way. It's not negotiable. You're going to have to find a way to generate new revenues for revenue sharing so you can still pay your coaches what they want and deserve to be paid. You can still build facilities, do all the stuff that you have to do, and have all the resources you want, travel budget, all this stuff, and now pay your players. And how you allocate that, in addition to generating real creative NIL ways, is going to be critical to continuing to have success at the level that LSU fans are accustomed. So you can moan and scream and complain to the high heavens till the cows come home about jersey patches, but I'm here to tell you, if that's a way that LSU can generate revenue to fill this gap, put as many patches on as many jerseys as you could possibly sell. That is just going to be the reality, and it is an absolute essential reality, because if you have the option of not generating revenue and losing, or finding ways to generate revenue, i.e. jersey patches, stuff like that, and continuing to win at the clip that you expect, it's an easy answer for all of us, and you know that's true. All right, we'll wrap up when we come back. Locked on LSU, your team every day. Man, a major congratulations go out to Derek Curiel, who this week was named by D1 Baseball the National Freshman of the Year. My goodness, what a season that we were treated to with Derek Curiel this year. He was named a second-team All-American, first-team freshman All-American. He was second-team All-SEC. Led the team with a .345 batting average, which was phenomenal to see, and obviously won a national championship. When we start looking at the best freshman seasons in the history of LSU baseball, here's the list. There are 8 players in the history of LSU baseball, which I don't know that. Let me say this. I'm curious how many you can name, just if I went right from the cuff. There are 8 players now, including Curiel, that have won National Freshman of the Year recognition. Okay, not National Player of the Year, National Freshman of the Year recognition. The first one should be obvious, and that's Todd Walker back in 1992. If you know this program, in 1992, as a freshman, Todd Walker became the first player in LSU history to hit 400. So in 1992, Todd Walker was the National Freshman of the Year. 1 year later, his teammate, Brett Laxton, was also named National Freshman of the Year. He was an outstanding starting pitcher as a freshman, and we know capped it off with a complete game shutout of Wichita State in the 8-0 win to claim LSU's second national championship. A little bit of a gap until the year 2000, when Mike Fontenot became National Freshman of the Year, also on a national championship team. A year later, Mike Fontenot, see, they usually come in twos like this. A year later, Mike Fontenot's teammate Lane Mestepe, who was outstanding, became LSU's Friday night guy as a freshman in 2001. Lane Mestepe was named National Freshman of the Year. Then, in 2013, it was Alex Bregman, followed 2 years later by his teammate Alex Lang in 2015. Langer became LSU's ace in 2015, and that's when we got to see the beginning of the Lang-Poche tandem, which became so good for LSU for so many years. And then in 2021, it was Dylan Cruz as a freshman, and now Derek Curiel to follow. All that to say, you look at that list: Todd Walker, Brett Laxton, Mike Fontenot, Lane Mestepe, Alex Bregman, Alex Lang, Dylan Cruz, and now Derek Curiel. I mean, of that list, the only one that didn't go on to a big league career Well, Laxton had injuries and Mestepe, the two of the pitchers that had injuries. The other 5 have all made it to the show, and my assumption is one day we'll see Derek Curiel there as well. But you start talking about rarefied air, and when you know you're seeing something special, like when Alex Bregman won National Freshman of the Year, won the Brooks Wallace Award as the best shortstop in the country as a freshman. The Tigers went to Omaha that year, obviously in 2013. You know you're setting the stage for something great. The same with Todd Walker as a freshman back in 1992. We all knew with Dylan Cruz what we were watching in 2021 was just something otherworldly. But in order to think in terms of a big picture awards and historical recognition, like jersey retire, LSU Hall of Fame, Athletics Hall of Fame, Halls of Fame, jersey retirement statues, and I think these are conversations I enjoy. I think you do as well. You have to tick some of these boxes. Winning a national championship in baseball is almost a prerequisite. Now, I don't think that's going to hold for Alex Bregman because I think he'll be honored as he should one day, even though he did. Same with Aaron Nola. I think those are 2 exceptions. Ben McDonald is one. Didn't win a national championship, but was in an era before LSU won its first national championship. All that to say, you look at someone like Dylan Cruz, who was the National Player of the Year, won the Golden Spikes Award, was the number 2 pick in the draft behind his teammate Paul Skeens, was the National Freshman of the Year. Like Dylan Cruz will be honored. Like his 3 will be retired by LSU. Eventually it'll be up there. Derek Curiel could follow that path. He's got a shorter runway because he's a draft eligible sophomore, so he's only got 2 years. But he's got the National Freshman of the Year. He's got the national championship. Can he add All-American National Player of the Year type honors in 2025? 2026? If he can do that as a sophomore, we might be having that conversation as well. But a really good start for Derek Curiel. Okay, that's going to do it for us. Thanks for making this your first listen. Remember, if you're on podcast, subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. And please let a friend know that if they love the Tigers, we got you here every single day. It's Locked on LSU, your team every day.